Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we're going to talk about luxury pre-loved market, and I'm going to give you some tips on how I think the future of purchasing pre-loved luxury is going and where it's going at. Um, Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. It's just my opinion and alleged, and I'm going to share with you my experience, that I've had since several decades of being a avid collector of luxury, whether it be new or pre-loved. Now, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon. Superdacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream several times a week, so come join the live chats. Here's where it's at. Hello to my co-chatters. So, we've had this conversation a couple of days ago, indirectly, while we were talking about a legal dispute that Chanel is having with a shop or company called What Goes Around Comes Around. And we were talking about what happened within the lawsuits. You could go check out that video. Really interesting conversation. Also, like when people that work for Chanel are called in to testify in court, and the things that they say, very telling to say the least. So then that conversation drifted into pre-loved, and I've noticed that a lot of people had a lot of questions about pre-loved. And people usually also ask me, like, where do I buy pre-loved items, and how do I deal with it? I usually don't disclose where I buy pre-loved items. There's a reason for that, and the reason being, you can get burned anywhere. There are counterfeits and fakes everywhere, and I don't want to be that person telling you, oh, you buy there, and then like you get scammed, and then, because there's rotten apples everywhere. So you got to be very cautious. And this is also one of the reasons why I thought I have to make this video, to make a couple of points clear. As we are now, and as I'm filming this video in 2024, luxury fashion is at a very unstable point. Fashion itself is kind of at the end point. I keep saying fashion is dead. There's no real innovation anymore in fashion. Everything is repeated, and every time it repeats itself, it's a blander, more faded copy of itself. So we kind of end up sticking, when it comes to luxury and spending a ton of money, also because prices keep going up, we tend to focus on the heritage pieces, those pieces that are not trend, but are actually timeless. Because you're thinking, if I'm going to spend $10,000 on a bag, might as well spend it on the classic bag, not maybe $2,000 less on a seasonal bag. So it's like $8,000 on a seasonal Chanel or $10,000 on the classic. I'm going to get the classic. Now, I want to save some more money. I want to try to get it pre-loved. That's where I draw the line. And I'm telling you right now, that's over for me. The classics, when it comes to pre-loved, especially when it comes to bags, also in general, items that are heritage items that have been in production by these brands for decades and decades. They have been present on the market for so long, giving the opportunity and the time to the counterfeiters to be able to perfect counterfeiting said items. By this I mean it is a little bit more difficult for the counterfeit system to counterfeit seasonal products that are going to be around just one season, just a couple of months, because you only have a couple of months to be able to make a copy and then sell it, because then people are going to lose interest, because the seasonal piece is not going to be relevant anymore, because next season there's going to be the new seasonal piece. Now, having said that, I am aware that the counterfeit market, the replica market, is becoming really good also at very quickly replicating seasonal pieces. They don't need more than a couple of weeks to already have a prototype ready as a replica of a seasonal item, a seasonal bag or a seasonal accessory, sunglasses, even clothing. But they have had decades, really almost close to a century in some cases, with some heritage items. The Birkin, the Kelly, they've been around for decades. Yes, they're handmade bags, okay, so Hermes tells us, but they're relatively simple in their structure. Now, you might think, yes, but you need years of practice to be able to make a bag like that. Yeah, and the counterfeit market had decades of time to perfect creating replicas of said bags. So what I'm saying here is I do not recommend, and I personally would not buy these classics on the pre-loved market. It is just a minefield of replicas. The chances that you're going to get burned, and usually you get burned because, I mean, listen, legally it's illegal to make replicas of these bags, obviously, but morally it's up to you to decide how far you're going to go. Now, it's one thing when a seller is honest enough and tells you, hey, I'm selling a replica of this brand, so I'm going to charge you a replica price. But it's another thing altogether when a seller is selling you a fake but tells you it's authentic and hence charges you the price of an authentic pre-loved bag. And this is where you get burned most of the time. It's very, very, very dangerous. So I would not buy any of these these classic luxury bags anymore. Pre-loved. Just no. So that's my first tip to you. Forget about the classics pre-loved. However, pre-loved is still a wonderful form of being more sustainable, preserving the environment, purchasing products that somebody else already loved. That's why they're called pre-loved. Somebody loved them already, used them, enjoyed them, and now somebody's ready to pass them on to somebody else. So you're getting them pre-loved. My rule of thumb is to purchase vintage, and by vintage I mean, there's a legal dispute. What does vintage mean? 20 years or 30 years? There's a whole debate about what is vintage. I personally would go so far into the past, into the 70s, some pieces from the 60s, only because the 60s used lurex and synthetics heavily, and a lot of those synthetic fibers really survive anything except for light colors, because once you get those yellow stains under your armpits on acrylic, you can't get those out. But we're talking, synthetics of a certain caliber, right? So you can imagine anything 50s and later, very tricky, because a lot of these natural materials, natural fabrics, cottons or silks, they start to decompose at a certain, they start falling apart. So unless you're not an avid collector of really antiquities, I mean, 50s and 40s are not antiquities, obviously, but if you're like into 50s, 40s, and 30s, then you got to be very specialized in what you're collecting, and you got to touch the fabrics. It's a little bit tricky buying them secondhand online because you don't get to feel the fabrics, to see the integrity of the fabrics. So I would recommend, if you're going to buy online, stick to up until 70s-ish. I would stick to 80s, 90s. Okay. Personally, because that's where you're kind of safer, that the fabrics are they're already relatively old, depending on how well worn they were, but they're not, for the most part, they're not that decomposing and decaying yet. And I would stick with seasonal items. The chances of finding authentic pieces from the past that are not heritage pieces is relatively high. Plus, don't forget, fabrics and materials, wools, cottons, cashmeres, and silks were much better quality back then. They were treated differently. The pesticides used were different. The effects that they had on the plants were different. The irrigation systems were different. The type of water that the plants were being fed was different. That the animals were being fed was different, in case you're buying leathers. Just the quality of textiles and fabrics was better. Okay, in the 80s and 90s. So there's that to consider. And buying seasonal pieces that move you from the past is the way to go for me. And coincidentally, surprise, surprise, we have a little unboxing. And you might think, wait, what the hell is going on here? This is a brand new Chanel shopping bag. Dacob, what are you doing? I thought this is a pre-loved video. This is not about unboxing something new. Well, this I wanted to show you as the best example of what happens when you purchase pre-loved and you buy a seasonal piece, and you buy a seasonal piece that you really love, but it's kind of niche. It's not an item that everybody was crazy for, so it hasn't been imitated, replicated. It's not a bag, okay? And you buy it pre-loved, and then when you buy it pre-loved, and I did buy this pre-loved, I wore it once, and the stitch in the back tore. I took it to Chanel. I bought this from Chanel, not from Chanel. I bought it pre-loved, but it's a Chanel item. And this is the beauty of when you buy pre-loved, but it's not those anally retentive pieces like the classic bags, you know. Because if you buy a pre-loved classic bag, then you take it to the Chanel boutique and you want it, you know, get it spot, repaired, it's going to be so difficult because they're going to have to authenticate it, and they're not allowed to authenticate it in the boutique. But with a piece like this, they know immediately if it's Chanel or not. So the stitch tore. I took it into the boutique and I said, hey, I got this piece pre-loved and I wore it once and the stitch tore. Could I can pay. I don't want to impose. I would just like to ask and inquire, is it possible to get it repaired? And the treatment that I got at Chanel was very interesting because this is it's a fabric piece. So it is their heritage. Chanel is not known for its bags. Coco Chanel's heritage is not bags. Coco Chanel's heritage is, yes, millinery for sure. Everything head related, hats, bows, and clothing. So look how they packed this like it's brand new. The amount of love and attention that they put into this. Look at this. I mean, the both though. The camellia, it's the paper camellia. So look how they treated. Oh wait. Oh my gosh! I even got a catalog. I even got a little spring summer I didn't even see this before. Oh, that is so wow. The treatment, honey. I arrived with this product, which we're going to unbox together now. I arrived with it in a plastic bag because that's all I had. Not only did they repair this, okay, they gave me a box for it. Girl. Oh, wow. And there you go. My Chanel Cruise Versailles 2013 silk bow has been repaired, and I got the box, and they gave me a little pouch for it as well, a little cotton pouch, and it has little padding so it's soft underneath. And the stitch in the back got loose, so they fixed it. Literally this stitch here is now repaired. And my Versailles hair bow, okay, but you can also wear it like here as a tie. I already wore it once in one live stream. And they repaired it. And it's perfectly done. I'm just inspecting it now. What a beautiful stitch. Did a wonderful job. And then I said, wow, thank you so much. How much do I need to pay? And they said, oh, no, no, no. Nothing. This is our heritage. This is what Chanel stands for. And this is a pre-loved, and this is where we also have to touch base on the conversation of luxury. Some people, little insipid worms, try to comment sometimes on my channel, when I show a piece like this and they say, oh, you got a bow because you can't afford the $20,000 bag. You really have to be a single-digit IQ moron to think like that. Because as you can see, the brand itself treats these pieces with more elegance and delicacy than they do the bags. The bags are for, people like you who leave a comment like that. But that has nothing to do with the actual heritage of a brand itself, like Chanel. And when you're purchasing Preloved, dig into the heritage of the brand. Do your research. Watch fashion shows online. Do your research on Google. Try to find fashion books that depict the history of the brand. Pardon me. Dig into the history of the collections, how the evolution of the collections were. Start discovering the looks from the past. Is there something you like? Are there details you like? If you find something you like, then start searching for it in the Preloved market. Like this bow, this is the Marie Antoinette blue. The second I saw this on the Preloved market, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the Marie Antoinette bow from the Cruise Collection 2013 from Versailles. I knew immediately what it was. So this is what I'm telling you. The brands also know what's good. So there is a way for us to enjoy the Preloved luxury market and to enjoy it in a way that is beneficial to us. And in this case, this is true luxury to me, okay? When you go to Chanel with a Preloved piece, no questions asked. They see it, they know immediately it's authentic, because who else is going to make a silk bow out of this material with this quality and this thickness of the silk? This is amazing. Nobody, who else is going to do it? Nobody. So immediately they're like, oh yes, of course I know this bow. It's from 2013, the Cruise Collection. Of course we're going to take it in for repairs. And then 1 week later, well, in my case, almost 3 weeks later, because I got sick, so I couldn't go to pick it up. I went to pick it up the other day, and they're like, here's a box, here's the dust bag, here, we're going to wrap it up. It's like I bought something brand new. And yet it's Preloved. And yet it cost me $40. In 2024, I bought a Preloved Chanel hair bow for $40. One stitch got loose. I take it to Chanel and I come back with all this. Not a penny spent extra. Now you see? Now do you understand what I talk about when I talk about the luxury that I love? When I talk about knowing Preloved, not in terms of hunting for the bargain and finding the bag for cheaper. Let the other YouTubers that love to do their hauls from Hermes, bag unboxings and stuff like, let them do that. But you can zoom better. You can zoom better. So my tip is, Preloved, yes, definitely. But get the stuff that nobody wants. You have to fall in love with it, of course. I love these bows. I want them in all colors. They also did a pink. They did a black. They're gorgeous. There's also a variation on the bow. There's another bow that has an extra little stitch up here with a little, like a bow and bow going on. There's like 4 different or 5 different variations of the bow. Patience, key. If you're looking for something, don't expect to find it immediately. Sometimes it takes you years. Took me 9 years to find it. I found it. Patience, and don't look for what the masses are looking for. Don't be a victim. Don't fall for the FOMO. Don't fall for the weird trend. Do not look for what the masses are looking for. You do you. Be strong enough. Do not fall for the Instagram posts of these terrible influencers who just have deals with brands and they're posting shit that they would never wear in their real life. They just do it because they're paid to do it, and you fall for it. And you say, oh, this looks so good. This looks so interesting. It got 50,000 likes. Okay, I need to get this. Don't be that victim. Don't. Because the second you become a victim, you contribute to the constant and progressive decay of quality that's going on within the fashion industry and community. Because you are just buying into the mass product. Preloved is awesome, but Preloved nowadays only still has a chance of working in your favor if you're not going for the classic mass-loved, mass-popular pieces. Because A, if you go for them, chances are very high you're going to get a replica, and 2, you're going to spend a lot of money. And you're never going to be really sure if something is authentic or not. Never really fully sure. So that's my tip to you. And here we even had an unboxing. And I mean, what a wonderful, and what a wonderful example of when Preloved is done, when luxury Preloved is done correctly. Now you know. Now you know. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I mean, let me know your thoughts. Here, Deb Shop says, totally agree. I have several Preloved bags and ready to wear. There are so many great buys out there, and I still carry my 6 bags from the 90s and the early 2000s. Kev says, maybe 2024 will be the year of quality resurrection for all brands. More likely it's going to be the full-on funeral of quality rather than resurrection. I don't think there's a resurrection coming anytime soon. But let me know your thoughts and prayers down below. Everything I said in this video was for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything was alleged and just my opinion. Love you loads. Thumb up the video and subscribe. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Bye. Mwah.